So I've been pretty much living at this Starbucks for the past 3 days here, working on that wedding film, trying to get it edited and get it finished up with so that when I get back on the road, I don't really have to worry about it anymore. But it's such a nice afternoon out that I think I'm gonna go on a little bit of an adventure. I've been making pretty good progress with editing. I think I spent the entire day editing yesterday, so I figure I could take a little bit of a break this afternoon and go explore New York City. I think I might even try to stealth camp in Manhattan tonight. Try. I don't know if it's gonna work out, but I have an area picked out where I'm gonna try to find parking and maybe it'll work out. It'll definitely be an experience, that's for sure. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty terrified right now. I know I mentioned it in the last video, like, I'm scared of New York City. It's a lot to handle. There's a lot of people. It's one of the most densely populated places on planet Earth, so it's definitely pretty overwhelming for me. And I just figure the only way that I'm gonna get over that fear and the only way that I'm gonna learn to appreciate New York is just by facing it head on and just doing what I'm doing right now. I'm gonna try to drive in there, park in Manhattan. When I was there the other day, I did park in Alphabet City, and I thought to myself as I was leaving late at night, I probably could spend the night here. Yeah, it might be a little loud, but I think it's definitely doable. And I am sure that there are people that stealth camp in New York City now. I did see an RV parked on the Williamsburg Bridge the other night, and I figure people park in Brooklyn and in the Bronx and live in vans and RVs in New York and have been doing it for a long time. But it's not something that you hear about very often. I really don't think I've ever seen a video about it, and so I figure I might as well document the experience. I don't know if it's gonna work. It might be too loud. I might leave at 2 o'clock in the morning and say forget it, or I might have trouble with someone, a police officer or something, who knows, but I'm gonna give it a try. Found parking really wasn't so bad. I drove around for probably about 30 to 45 minutes or so, but at the same time I was kind of just exploring and like learning the area. I was trying to learn Lower Manhattan, so I passed a lot of good spots. I was aiming to try to park under the Williamsburg Bridge. I know I mentioned that earlier. There's a couple RVs over there. It seems like a place that's a little bit quieter, not as much foot traffic. I probably could have blended in a little bit better, but I couldn't find a spot over there. So I'm just street side here in the East Village area, and I'm gonna go with it. You know, it's very close to where I parked the other night. It seems like it'll be somewhat quiet later on this evening, so I'm just gonna give it a try, at least as quiet as it can be in New York. Right now, I'm gonna go explore Manhattan a little bit. I might meet up with a good friend of mine and grab a bite to eat with him, and then I'm thinking about maybe getting on the subway and traveling around a little bit, but I don't know anything about New York subway, and it kind of scares me, and I really don't understand all the letters and the numbers and all these things, so hopefully I don't get lost trying that. I might chicken out. I don't know. I might just walk around a little bit. It's a pretty nice night, so we'll see what happens. Exploring around Manhattan for like the last 3 hours or so. Met up with one of my good friends and grabbed a bite to eat for a little bit. Now I have about an hour to kill, so I'm heading back to the Element. I'm gonna try to warm up. It's starting to get really cold outside, so I'm gonna grab a jacket, hang out, and then I'm planning to meet up with a viewer subscriber in a little while. I know that there were a lot of you guys that requested to try to meet up with me while I was in New York, but I'm only here for like a day, so I don't really have a lot of time to meet up with too many people. So I'm sorry if you reached out to me. I didn't get back to you in time, but my time here is pretty limited. I have to be in the Midwest very soon. Definitely a pretty chilly evening tonight in New York, but I really feel like the last few hours I've gotten to know Manhattan like really well. At least can figure out how to walk around. I haven't taken the subway yet, but definitely know my way around at least a little bit better than I ever have before. I just met up with a viewer subscriber for a little while. We just kind of hung out at a coffee shop for a couple hours and talked, and it was a lot of fun. Thanks for taking the time to meet up, Tessa. And now it is the moment of truth. I am exhausted. It's after 11 o'clock. It's time to go to bed. So I have the bed set up, the curtains are up. It's still kind of bright in here. There is definitely some light coming in, but overall, I think it's gonna work out, guys. You know, there is definitely some traffic coming by. I think this might be one of the quietest streets in Manhattan. I think I might have picked a pretty good location, at least for now. The morning will probably be a different story with folks trying to commute to work and everything like that, but for now, I think it might work out. You know, I've definitely stayed in some loud places between LA and San Diego. I've definitely had some loud street side parking spots before, so it's not something I haven't done. This will probably be the loudest of all of them, but I'm just gonna do my best. It is a cold night, so I do sleep better when it's cold. I'm gonna be bundled up, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I won't be talking to you guys until the morning. Good morning. So it's a little after 8 a.m. right now, and that was definitely the loudest place that I've ever tried to stealth camp. Sounds like that. Horns, sirens. At one point the fire alarm went off in one of these buildings, like just random things like that that'll wake you up out of a sound sleep. I mean, you know, the cars going by, the people walking by, it doesn't really bother me, but it's just when you get like a loud music or sirens, like I said, like that's kind of what would wake me up. And I definitely had some pretty weird dreams, like mixed in with the sounds of the city and stuff like that, and probably not the best night's sleep. But that being said, like I did mostly sleep the entire night, so it really wasn't that bad. I feel like you get some earplugs and put them in and you'd be able to sleep through it. And then also probably just not parking in the middle of Manhattan, like might be quieter sections of the city that I would figure out if I was going to be here for a long time. But overall, like stealth camping in New York City, it's definitely doable. So I'm going to confirm this, but I think I'm okay to park here for the day today. I know some sides of the street, it's like Thursday mornings you can't park, and other sides it's Wednesday mornings, basically so that they make people so they can't just leave their car in one place for a long time, which makes sense and is actually really useful if you're trying to stealth camp in the city. So I'm going to make sure that I can park here for a little bit, probably go explore a little bit more, and then I'm going to head out of here. I want to try to get to Pennsylvania by this afternoon, and ideally get the heck out of New York before rush hour starts. Okay, so I'm only allowed to park there until 11 a.m., so I don't really have too much time to do too much exploring, and it's also freezing outside anyway, so I don't really want to be walking around too much, but I am going to go get a New York bagel. I had a friend recommend a pretty good place nearby, and then I'll hit the road. This was almost a $5 bagel. The city is anything but cheap, but I will admit it is definitely growing on me. You know, for the longest time I could never really figure out the appeal of New York City. Like every time I came here I got overwhelmed. I said, oh, there's too much traffic, too many people, I would never want to live here or even want to spend any time here. And I feel like that's changed a lot these past couple of days. Like, this is an incredible city, and I don't really want to leave at this point. I have to, because I have to get to the Midwest for work, but I'm looking forward to the day that I get to come back here and spend more time here. This is a good bagel. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying I want to like move to New York and live here forever or anything like that. I definitely don't think I could ever pay rent in this city. That doesn't really seem like the best financial decision, but I could see myself maybe trying a stealth camp in the city for a couple weeks or a month, maybe even a little bit longer than that once the weather warms up next year maybe, and just hang out here and really get to know it a little bit more. There are just so many interesting people in this city. As a filmmaker or someone who wants to create, like there's a lot of great creators in the city as well, some of the most well-known ones on YouTube. I think it would be kind of cool to maybe get the chance to try to collaborate with some and really get to know this place a little bit better, but who knows? At this point, I just need to focus on heading west and finding warmer weather. So a few things that I've learned over this experience of stealth camping in Manhattan last night. It's definitely possible. It can be done, obviously, and I didn't think that it was completely impossible, but I really questioned if I was going to be able to get a decent night's sleep, and I did. I slept relatively well. That being said, it was kind of loud, and I don't know. on a long-term basis, I think maybe this would be a little bit more challenging, you know, just would probably get old pretty quickly. But that being said, like, there's parking regulations, and those regulations kind of work in your benefit. I know I mentioned that earlier, but the fact that you have to move your car at 11 a.m. basically means that I would just move the Element, right, in theory, drive around for an hour, maybe drive out to Brooklyn or something like that, find a parking spot out there, or just drive around and try to find a spot on the other side of the street where it's illegal to park. And then just park there. And that would actually be good, because you want to be moving around like that every night. Like, that's usually been my rule of thumb for stealth camping in general, wherever I am. I never want to spend a night in the same place twice. So it kind of makes a little bit of sense. Like, I would be able to move all around the Manhattan area, maybe move into Brooklyn, like I said, go into the Bronx, go into wherever, Queens, I mean, wherever, Staten Island even. I'm sure that there are places that you could park, as long as you learn the regulations and the street parking rules and stuff like that. And eventually, I'm sure you'd get a routine down. You just go from one place on Tuesdays, one area, one part of town on Wednesdays, just be moving all around and all over the place. And the only thing that would require is that you be willing to drive around for an hour, maybe more, every single day in the city trying to find parking. There are certain times throughout the day where you can move your car in New York, and I figured that out yesterday. Like, after 5 o'clock, it's a lot harder to find parking than it is from like 12 to 4 area or something like that. So, I don't know, just thought it was pretty interesting. Another thing that this experience has kind of confirmed for me is that I really enjoy being able to spend time in the city. You know, I like camping. I like going out in, you know, the national forest and finding free camping. That's a lot of fun too, but I probably also equally enjoy being able to explore major cities like New York, San Francisco, San Diego. I like being able to stealth camp there. So having a smaller vehicle that is easier to navigate, easier to park, easier to drive in really tight spaces and stuff, I think I really value that. And I don't think I really realized it because I've never really driven anything else, but the Element is so easy to drive all throughout the city, and I feel like going to something like a big size ProMaster or a Transit or something like that, the commercial drivers that I saw driving those things yesterday didn't look like they were having a lot of fun. Definitely seems like the compact cargo style van is a lot easier to drive in the cities. And I mean, the NV200 is the taxi system in New York, so that's definitely a testament to the fact that it's probably easier to drive than your standard full-size van. And this experience is kind of solidified for me that I definitely want to go with something compact like that. Whether it is a compact cargo van like the Transit Connect or NV200, or maybe a minivan as well. I know a lot of folks have suggested the Toyota Sienna in the comments on my recent videos. Those are more than likely the options that I'm going to go with, as opposed to something bigger. So that's kind of where I am with that whole decision. And I am now in Pennsylvania. I'm just parked outside of a Planet Fitness here. I got to grab a shower and then probably spend the rest of the day editing that wedding film. Hopefully, fingers crossed, trying to finish up the film and just getting it done with so that I can move on. I have about 15 hours of driving to do over the next 3 days to get over to the Midwest, where I need to be early next week for work. So it's going to be a crazy couple of days. Before ending the vlog, I do have a couple of new Patreon pledges to thank. Kirk Groves and Jenny and Ryan, Florida. Thank you guys so much for joining the Patreon team. Jenny and Ryan, I hope things are going well for you guys in the Park Model RV over in Florida. It was great meeting you guys earlier this year. Thanks for watching. I'll talk to y'all in the next video.